Welcome to Beware the Scare, the series that showcases the most horrifying moments in horror movies. My name is Tyler Style, and today we'll be looking at The Conjuring. The Conjuring was made in 2013 and directed by James Wan. This is the first movie that Wan directed without any input from Leigh Whannell. Before The Conjuring, Wan and Whannell created the original Saw movie, and they worked on Dead Silence and the first two Insidious movies together. You might remember Leigh Whannell from Saw. He plays Adam, one of the two guys locked in the bathroom. Let's just say he might be better behind the camera. The Conjuring is based on a true story, but I don't know how true it really is, because in real life, the Warrens were known as frauds. But with that being said, The Conjuring is one of my favorite horror movies of the modern age, and it comes with a lot of scares. But how scary is it? Let's find out. The Conjuring starts off with the now iconic Annabelle doll. The Warrens are listening to Debbie and Camilla talk about what's been going on in their house with Annabelle and how they gave a demon permission to live within Annabelle. One night when coming back home, they see a note that says "Miss me." They open the door to find Annabelle in the hallway, which is weird because
we had left her in the spare room.
They throw Annabelle out and go nighty-night. Someone knocking late at night wakes Debbie and Camilla up. It must be Grandma coming to visit. Damn, Grandma, they're coming! Turns out it's not Grandma, but instead it's just a note and Annabelle back inside the house. Debbie and Camilla are telling the story to Ed and Lorraine Warren, the real-life paranormal investigators who are known for working on the Amityville case, played by Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga. We get to meet the parents, the family with Roger, Carolyn, and their 5 daughters, Andrea, Nancy, Christine, Sydney, and April. In 2018, the actual owners of the house in the movie sued Warner Brothers because so many people were trespassing to come check out the house. The last member of the family is Sadie, the family dog. Sadie isn't being a good girl when she refuses to go into the house. As everyone moves in, April is down by the lake and found a creepy music box that plays a really slow, terrifying tune. The girls play a fun game called hide and clap. The premise is simple. The seeker is blindfolded and gets 3 claps from everyone whenever she requests for one. When playing this game, they get a little too rough and break a board on the wall. Turns out there's a basement in this house. I wish I was that lucky to buy a house and find a huge basement in it. That's free square footage, man! The next morning, Carolyn notices every clock stopped at 3:07 and sees that the basement door is open. The spooky ghost must have done it. Just kidding, it's only Roger. April goes to look for Sadie outside, where she discovers that Sadie went to doggy heaven. Hopefully there she'll get all the treats and tummy rubs the parents didn't give her. We visit the Warrens in Monroe, Connecticut. The Warrens have their Consultants of Demonology Witchcraft room in their own house. This is the room with objects that have been used in a ritual practice. Ed has one rule for anyone who comes into the room.
Nothing's a toy. Not even the toy monkey. Don't touch it.
We're back at the parents where Christine is getting pulled by something. She tells Nancy to stop pulling on her foot, but that's not the only thing Nancy won't stop doing.
Stop farting.
Roger hears some scary noises and goes to investigate, where he finds Andrea at the top of the staircase. She says Cindy is sleepwalking again, but this time she's banging her head on a dresser that was left in the house when they bought it. The next morning, Roger goes off to work and sees a pigeon smack into their house. The 4 girls go off to school, leaving Carolyn and April alone in the house. Carolyn finds April talking to someone even though no one is there. She says his name is Rory and tells her mom how to see Rory for herself.
With this. When the music stops, you see him in the mirror standing behind you.
April becomes my least favorite character when she jump scares her own mother. April convinces her mom to play hide and clap. Carolyn is the seeker and starts looking for April blindfolded. Carolyn follows the claps to Andrea's room and hears the dresser door open and asks for a final clap. Sorry, Carolyn, those claps aren't coming from April. We see hands come out of the dresser and clap, and Carolyn goes towards them thinking it's April. While searching, she takes her blindfold off and April comes from behind her telling her that she lost. We fast forward to the middle of the night where the foot fetish phantom grabs Christine's foot. She blames Nancy again until she almost gets pulled off the bed. She looks under the bed and sees the door creaking. This scares her enough to wake up Nancy. Nancy gets up to check behind the door, and Christine tells her the words no one wants to hear.
It's standing right behind you.
The door slams shut and they scream, waking everyone up. Carolyn keeps getting bruises on her, and when getting ready for bed, she hears a clap. She checks on all the girls and sees that they're sleeping. She hears all the pictures fall from the staircase and we hear Rory laugh. Carolyn goes downstairs and hears a clap in the basement. This is one of those times where we all know don't go into the basement, but because Carolyn's a character in a horror movie, she's gonna go down there. When getting ready to leave the basement, she threatens whoever is clapping. She gets a face full of door and falls down the stairs. She sees a ball bounce towards her and runs up the stairs as a light bulb explodes. She finds a box of matches to give her a source of light and hears someone at the bottom of the stairs. This is one of my favorite jump scares of all time and was even in my top 5 best jump scares of all time video.
Wanna play hide and clap?
While Carolyn tries to get out, Cindy is back in Andrea's room banging her head on the dresser again. Andrea puts Cindy in her bed and the dresser's doors start to bang themselves. As Andrea opens the dresser doors, Cindy looks above Andrea's head in shock. A girl on top of the dresser jumps down and attacks Andrea. We see the Warrens presenting again and Carolyn is in the audience, but she isn't the only familiar face in the audience as we see the real Lorraine Warren in the front. After the presentation, Carolyn tries to get the Warrens to help her. They are hesitant but decide to check out the house. The Warrens get to the parents' house and investigate. They talk about how bad smells can mean demonic activity, and Ed explains the banging that they hear.
Sometimes it's meant as an insult to the Trinity, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Lorraine and Ed go into the basement, and Lorraine uses her special powers to hear all the people that suffered in the past. Lorraine talks to April about Rory, and they do the musical box trick that April did on her mom, except this time Lorraine sees Rory. Lorraine goes outside knowing something is wrong. She turns around to see Ed, and someone's hanging from the tree behind him. Ed and Lorraine tell the parents that they need to do an exorcism on their house. Lorraine says that the demonic presence has latched itself onto their family, and she saw it behind them when she walked in. We are back at the Warrens' house, and Ed notices that Carolyn's voice isn't on their recording. Lorraine tells Ed about the history of the house.
Built in 1863 by a man named Judson Sherman, who was married to a woman named Bathsheba. She ran out to that tree by the dock, climbed up, proclaimed her love to Satan, cursed anyone who tried to take her land, and hung herself.
While they talk, the record player thing, I'm too young to know what that is, starts playing and it doesn't sound too good. Also, the clock at the Warrens stopped at 3:07. The Warrens arrive back at the parents' house with police officer Brad, who doesn't believe in ghosts, and Drew, who deals with all the technology for the investigation. They go into the basement to investigate, but they don't get any evidence. When they leave, the door slams behind them. The next morning, Lorraine is hanging laundry when a sheet flies into a figure. The sheet flies to the master bedroom window where Lorraine sees Bathsheba. Bathsheba is actually played by the movie's composer, Joseph Bashara. Bathsheba vomits a blood-looking substance into Carolyn's mouth. Lorraine runs up, but Carolyn says everything's good, already being possessed. It's nighttime again and Brad hears something outside. He doesn't find anything, but when he goes back inside, he sees a maid in a room with her wrist cut. She whispers, "Look what you made me do." And then when he walks in to see where she went, she screams it at him. They see Cindy sleepwalking and the cameras start to flash, but Cindy isn't the reason why the cameras are taking pictures.
She didn't trigger it.
What do you mean she didn't trigger it?
Somebody's with her.
She goes into Andrea's room and the door is locked. We hear whispering, and everyone finally gets into the room where Cindy is nowhere to be found. Ed gets a black light to figure out where Cindy went, following the footsteps of the dresser. They find a secret compartment in the dresser and find Cindy. They pull Cindy out, and April says,
That's where Rory hides when he's afraid.
This makes Lorraine go in between the walls to investigate. She gets the music box and finds a noose. She falls through the floor into the basement. She hears a woman sobbing, and she sees her through the music box mirror. She turns around and sees nothing, but then she lowers the music box and finds the old lady in front of her. Then a hanging corpse falls in front of her. While everyone is looking for Lorraine, they see a cross start to shake and stand upright. A few of Nancy's hairs start to go up and she gets picked up by her hair and flung around the room. She gets dragged to the ground until someone cuts her hair. For a girl, that was probably the scariest part of the movie. How long is it going to take for her to grow her hair back? It's the next morning and the Warrens are about to leave. Lorraine goes to the dock and sees her daughter Judy floating just under the water of the lake, calling her name. She runs in and calls her mom to see if Judy is okay, and her mom confirms she is fine. Back at the Warrens, a necklace that Judy has of her and her mom starts to swing, and Judy gets her leg pulled like Christine earlier. Judy walks through her house late at night and finds the door unlocked to all the haunted items. She doesn't go in, but we see that Annabelle is gone. Judy runs into a room with a rocking chair and the lights turn off as she sees Annabelle and a woman in the chair. Judy is screaming, trying to get out, and the Warrens get back, and when Ed opens the door, the rocking chair goes flying at Judy. Ed goes to check and see if Annabelle is still in the case, which she is. We go to the parents, who are staying at a hotel. The kids say that their mom took Christina and April with her, and they know that she is taking them back to the house to drown them in the lake. They get back to the house and the door is locked. The police officer shoots the lock off the door, and Carolyn is trying to stab Christina, but Roger is stopping her. They want Carolyn to leave the house, but Bathsheba isn't letting her leave. Carolyn flies back and gets dragged into the basement. Ed decides to do the exorcism himself because they need to do it that night. Drew finds Christina and puts her in his car. He goes back to search for April. They have Carolyn bound to a chair and have a sheet over her head. Ed tosses holy water on her and she freaks out and the room starts to shake. A pigeon flies into the window of the car Christina's in, and birds start to fly around the house. A bird flies into the basement as Ed tries to do the exorcism. Carolyn throws up blood and a scary face comes up when Ed says to reveal itself. Everything stops to shake and Carolyn stops resisting. The room gets quiet and then Carolyn starts to levitate in the chair. She gets turned around and the chair starts banging on the ceiling. As she gets dropped, a jester tries to fall on Ed. Roger tells Bathsheba to let Carolyn go, but Bathsheba says,
She's already gone. And now you're all gonna die.
Drew announces where April is and Carolyn runs off trying to get her. Carolyn gets April and is ready to stab her, but Ed, Lorraine, and Roger stop her by completing the exorcism and giving her emotional support to fight back. Carolyn fights back and throws up blood, cleansing her of Bathsheba. It's morning time and everyone walks out of the house with Carolyn. All of her bruises heal in front of their eyes and everything is better. The daughters get driven back and the parents are happy. Ed and Lorraine get back to their house and Ed puts the music box in the room of haunted goods. Ed walks out of the museum and the Conjuring ends with the music box playing on its own. What I love about this ending is that the movie keeps you tense till literally the last second, but you don't get a cheap jump scare like in Sinister with that bitch Bagul. The Conjuring is an hour and 52 minutes long and has a total of 12 jump scares, some being really good like the clap scene, and some being fake outs like April's little bitch ass trying to scare her mom. The Conjuring is one of the highest grossing horror movies and one of my personal favorites. What I think makes The Conjuring such a great movie is all the scenes that could have a jump scare but don't, such as the very last scene. But instead of focusing on jump scares, the movie has a dreadful feeling to it and makes you feel bad for the parents. My favorite scene has to be the clapping scene in the basement. The misdirection James Wan uses here is impeccable. If you haven't seen The Conjuring yet, go watch it. This just focused on the scariest moments and there's so much more that you guys missed. Thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Tyler Style and this has been Beware the Scare. Thanks for watching this video on The Conjuring Scariest Moments. Now I have an end screen where I'll shout out all my Patreon subscribers. Make sure to like the video if you liked it. Comment what your favorite part of The Conjuring is, and subscribe for more horror content. Go to my Discord to talk with me and give me video ideas. I'm so excited to be doing horror content now instead of my old content. I love making these videos, and I'm gonna keep it up for you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you guys later.